So while she works on that, I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:03 p.m. And I'll do a roll call of board members and staff members present. I'll do it in the order I can see on the screen. So Barbara Frederigo is here. Brian Best is here. Barry Nelson is here. Kathy Barber is here. Kate Downey is here. Marcia Alizraki, soon-to-be board member, is here. Richard Rubin, same, is here. Treasurer Tony Rapicki is here. And from the library, we have myself, Tim Wiles, the director, Fiscal Officer Carol Cott, Administrative Assistant Jenna Schmansky, Public Information Officer Luann Nicholson, and Margaret Garrett, Assistant Director. If you'll all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And with that, Barbara, I turn it over to you as the chair of the nominated committee.
First, Tim, we should do the oaths of office for Marcia and Richard.
Okay, so who would administer those?
The clerk normally does. I guess you would have to.
Okay, and I don't believe I have them.
Can I say something? This is Jenna.
Sure.
So I read according to the trustee handbook that the president has to give the oath of offices. That's why we switched up the agenda.
Okay. So, Brian, do you have them? And
No,
if not,
I have nothing. I have, as of a couple minutes ago, I was not paying attention at all.
that's okay. Jenna, do you think they might be in my email somewhere?
Yes, I can re-forward that to you.
Okay, great. Thanks.
While we waited, I just want to welcome our two newest board members. So I know this is kind of a unique way to start, but we're all very happy to have you guys here.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Glad to be here.
And while we're waiting for those oaths, I want to compliment Marcia and Richard because not only did they both attend the core trustee training at Upper Hudson, but they both made themselves available for a 1.5-hour tour yesterday of the library. So they are much closer to being up to speed with those two developments. So thank you.
Plus, I got a library pen, Tim. You know.
Oh, that's right.
Let's not downplay that stuff.
Right, absolutely. And it is a library pen that is antimicrobial. So that's good too. Okay, so I'm going to start. I'm going to start with Marcia Alizraki. And Marcia, I need to ask you to raise your right hand and repeat after me.
Her camera isn't on yet.
Okay, I can start with Richard then.
Mm-hmm.
Richard, are you ready?
Can you hear me? Can you hear?
We can hear you, yes. Yep.
Hear you, but we can't see you.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Is it?
Connect, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Why don't I start with Richard and I'll come back to you, Marcia. Richard, if you'll raise your right hand and repeat after me, please. I do solemnly affirm.
I do solemnly affirm.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of New York.
And the Constitution of the State of New York.
And that I will faithfully discharge the duties.
And that I will faithfully discharge the duties.
Of library trustee according to the best of my ability.
Of library trustee according to the best of my ability.
Fantastic. Thank you, Rich. You, I believe, have already returned that form in the mail to Jenna. So,
I have not yet. I was waiting until I did it physically. So.
Oh, okay. Very good. Super. Thank you. Marcia, are you ready?
She still isn't on video.
And does she need to be on video to take the oath?
It would be the ideal situation, but I don't think she can even hear us yet.
Okay,
She's on twice. Looks like she's
Yeah.
got two connections.
okay. In the interest of time, I suggest we just do it orally, and it'll be in the
I-
transcript as well. Any objections? Okay, very good. So Marcia, if you would repeat after me. I do solemnly affirm.
I do solemnly
Okay,
affirm
very good. And I do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support
that I will, and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of library trustee according to the best of my ability. Very good. Thank you. Now, before I turn it over to Barbara, I'm going to forward the email with the oaths of office for myself, Anthony Rapicki, and Mark Keeling to both Brian and Caitlin. And it's not appropriate, of course, for me to administer the oath to myself. I certainly could do Anthony Rapicki if you folks want me to.
Yeah, that would, Tim, you could go
Okay,
ahead and do
great.
Anthony's.
Anthony, if you would raise your right hand, please. And repeat after me. I do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States
I do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
Treasurer of the Library Board of Trustees according to the best of my ability.
of Treasurer of the Board of Trustees to the best of my abilities.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, the swearing in of the library director is a new requirement of the state of New York. So, Brian, if you got that email, you're the standing president at the moment. So it's up to you guys who wants to do it and when.
Yeah, I can do it. Did you say you just forwarded it to my email?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or we could just wait until the new president comes on board.
That's fine.
I'm good with that.
Okay. Hey, Jason.
You're looking very comfortable, Jason.
So Barbara, I believe I guess I have to actually say I'm turning it over to you for the nominating committee nominations.
Okay, the nominating committee is delighted to recommend Caitlin Downing as president. And we do one office at a time, I believe.
Okay.
Then we ask if there are any other nominations from the floor. Hearing none, could we vote for Caitlin Downey as the president for next year? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, Caitlin, congratulations.
Yay.
Thank
Thank you.
The nominating committee, Noreen Rivas as the vice president for next year. Are there any other recommendations from the floor? If not, all those in favor of Noreen being our vice president, please raise your hands.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye, yes.
Congratulations, Noreen. There you are. And then the nominating committee will be nominating Kathy Barber as our secretary. Are there any other nominations from the floor? Hearing none, could we vote for Kathy right now? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Congratulations, Kathy.
Thank you.
Okay, Caitlin, it's all yours.
All right.
And then you can swear in Tim.
Okay. Our agenda says the appointment, approve the appointment of the treasurer. Is that something we still need to do, or he took his oath? So we're all set?
We can do it just as a formality.
Sure.
Nominate Mr. Rapicki as our treasurer for next year. We need a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good.
Wait, I'm sorry, who made the motion?
I made the motion. Barry said,
Okay, thank you.
and then Caitlin, there's a nominating committee, I believe, for next year.
Yes. And we don't have that. We haven't done committee assignments. We'll have them by the next meeting. Since we have new board members, we have to discuss with them what committees they might like to be on. And also get input from everybody. So is everyone okay with tabling the nominating committee until next meeting?
Yes.
Great. All right, so we've already done the oath of office of the appointed treasurer. So let's do the oath of office of our library director. Tim, can you repeat after me, Tim Wiles?
I will.
Thank you. I do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States
I do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of library director
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of library director
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
All right, thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Annual authorizations and resolutions.
There's a page in your packet. I cannot recall if we do these one at a time or if we accept them or vote on them as a package.
Tim, I think as long as we all got them ahead of time, we can do it as a package unless someone wants to extract one or another.
Does anyone have a feeling in either direction? I'm comfortable with doing them as a packet.
I make a motion that we approve all the board authorizations as provided to us in the packet.
Second it.
All right, second from Brian.
Aye.
Aye. Excellent. Moving, annual policies. So it looks like we have our code of interest and whistleblower policies. Everyone should have gotten those via mail. Thank you, Jenna, for putting them together and then sent them back. Attention, Jenna. Is there anyone, if that you still have that outstanding, please make arrangements to
Okay, I provided it to Jenna. I will read it. The Building and Grounds Long Range Planning Committee held several monthly meetings, began making progress on the new plan and the revised mission statement. And then the coronavirus pandemic came in March and curtailed all further meetings and progress. That's the report.
Thank you, Barry. It's the annual budget.
Uh-oh, we may have lost Caitlin.
I think we lost her.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I
You're
step
up.
in and ask.
So we're looking for that.
that sound-
Caitlin, we lost you a little bit.
We lost you a lot.
Yeah, we lost you again. Well, there you're back.
We didn't hear like the last like 2 minutes. Well, she froze.
Is she gone again?
Yeah, it's free.
Okay.
Became president and froze right up.
If it's okay, I could ask, well, we're not going to have a foundation annual report read tonight because Mark is the foundation liaison and he's not present tonight, but it is in your email. I think, I have not read it, but I think one thing it would say is that the gala for this coming September has been called off because of the virus and replaced with a golf tournament. So I don't know if that's acceptable to you all, but it is in your email. Kate, yes, Kate just texted me that she's having an internet issue. Please, someone tell me if they're uncomfortable with me doing this, but I'd like to ask Barbara for the Personnel Labor Management Annual Report.
Hey.
So Barbara, I'm not
happening.
We can't hear you,
You're on
Barbara.
muted.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
We successfully negotiated our 3 union contracts, Unit 1, Unit 2, and our administrative contracts. So we're good for another 3 years.
Thank you. And Herb Hennings is not with us, but he's continues as our UHLS liaison, from what I understand. Jenna, do you know if Herb had an annual report in what you emailed out?
Sorry, Tim, you're breaking up.
Okay, do you know if Herb included an annual report in your email summary?
No, he did not.
Okay, so there will be a UHLS report in the monthly meeting. He's gone to a meeting already this week. So I suppose Jenna or Kate should follow up and make sure that we get an annual report for Upper Hudson Library System from Herb. So Kate, I see you're back on. Can you hear us?
I can. You guys hear me?
We can. And so what we did in your absence is we noted that the foundation annual report would not be presented tonight because Mark is not with us, but is in the email. Barbara Fratarigo gave the personnel labor management report, and I mistakenly skipped over policy. So Noreen, do you have a policy committee report?
Yes, I have a no smoke. We worked on no smoking and vaping policy, the security camera policy, records retention, customer service policy, and the review of public services. And we had a couple of others in the pipeline, and then everything went south.
So Kate, why don't I turn it back over to you? It looks to me like in our packet for this meeting, We still need to present the 2020 annual resolutions. And then my packet includes a proposed schedule for board meetings, but I do not see it on the agenda, but I would imagine it's something we want to deal with in this meeting, especially since we have 7 minutes before the next meeting starts.
It is. Let me, I'm trying to pull up my packet again. I see financials. I don't see a board packet in my inbox, Jenna.
I have the two documents,
Okay.
and I bet everybody else does in their packet. So you know, I'm sort of standing in for Kate if that's okay, but the two annual resolutions are the approval of claims prior to payment in accordance with the claims approval procedure of the library, and that such approval shall be documented in the board minutes. Claims for public utility services, freight and express, payroll, postage and associated expenses, and certain other expenses may be paid upon the approval of the director or assistant director prior to the approval by the board. All such claims shall be presented at the next regularly scheduled board meeting for audit and approval by the board. This resolution shall be effective immediately. I would comment that it's been recommended that we pass this every year so that we can avoid late payments on certain utility bills and other types of bills.
I make that motion.
Oh, now I'll second it.
Kate, do you want to call for the roll?
Sure.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
I'm sorry, who made the motion?
I did, Barbara.
Thank you.
And the second motion to accept the resolution that, to the extent permitted by law and regulation, for any month in which no meeting of the trustees is scheduled to occur, the board delegates its authority to the president or other officer to audit and approve payment of those claims for which costs will be incurred as a result of payment in an untimely manner. All such claims shall be presented at the next regularly scheduled board meeting. Audit and approval by the board. This resolution shall be effective immediately.
I make the motion.
I second. Who said that?
And Jenna, do you?
Yeah, Brian and Noreen.
Now that I make motions, I realize I do have to say my name.
Okay. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And opposed?
Now, Kate, you know the details of the schedule, right? Or would you want me to announce them?
Of the
Yeah. I have it here and can summarize if you'd
Yeah.
like, but I think you could as well, right?
go over that brief Yeah, I've got it. It looks. The meeting dates. Yeah. For meeting times. For folks. Or for motions being made. So, is there any dissented meeting schedule?
I'm sorry, Caitlin, I'm having a hard time
Yeah, you're fading in
hearing
and out.
you. We're getting every other word.
Kate, would it be okay if I gave a summary of the schedule? Kate, I don't think people could hear you, so I'm wondering if you'd be okay if I gave a quick summary.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so the meeting schedule in your packet has a meeting on the third Thursday of every month, with the exception of February, where it would be on the second Thursday because the third Thursday falls in the school break week, I believe, was what we figured out. And also, Caitlin is proposing that we have meetings in August and in February, which we have traditionally not done. The reason for that is that we are likely to be going to bid in August, and we might have to call a special board meeting anyway. The reason for the February proposal is essentially that we may well be under construction at that time. And so we anticipate needing closer monitoring of the renovation and expansion situation, and also somewhat editorializing. It has long been advocated by Upper Hudson Library System that every library meet monthly at the board level.
If a motion is appropriate, Ruben moves that we hold the board meeting annually, including August and February.
I have a problem with one of the meetings. The April 15th meeting falls during Passover. This past year, we held the meeting during Passover, which meant that some of us were not able to attend the meeting because of religious situation. And I strongly request that next year, the meeting not be held on the 15th, but be moved back to the 22nd the following week so that everyone is able to attend regardless of the religion.
I'm going to jump in and Google the school calendar. I would think that the school break is the same week you're talking about, Barry. Does anyone happen to know?
Well, then move it to a different day, but
No, I think it would encompass the 15th, but I'm going over to the web to try to Google that. So.
Just can I jump in, Caitlin, while he's looking that up? I think it's only fair
Sure.
if we, try to accommodate and find an alternate date.
Agreed. I agree with Barbara and Barry.
Apparently, so does the dog.
Tim, I found the recess for next year.
Great, thank you.
It's April 2nd to the 9th. It's the spring recess.
Okay, so Barry's proposed date of the 22nd would be fine from a school perspective.
That's just fine. Sorry about that, Barry. I tried to look and make sure that there were no conflicts with major holidays, but my guess is I looked at the wrong year.
No problem, as long as we
my-
move it.
My fiscal year calendar and my annual calendar were getting crossed over there. But I know in 2021, we can't have the September meeting on the third Thursday. So I got that far ahead.
Oh.
So the meeting would be April 22nd. Do we need a motion for that?
I make a motion. Motion to have it on the 22nd.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thanks for the heads up, Barry.
Okay, thank everybody for the cooperation.
Thank you, Barry. Just speaks to the diversity of our board when we can have our members give input on this. So thank you. All right. Was
Caitlin,
there any? Yes, Barbara.
should we not approve the whole calendar? We just approved that date change, or did the resolution encompass the entire calendar?
That's a good question.
An amendment to the calendar that was proposed.
Sure. Jenna, what was the motion?
I think it was just to change the April date to the 22nd. And I can
Okay.
motion that we approve the calendar as presented with the amendment intact now.
I think Richard's
Thank
original thing was to approve the entire calendar, and then he made the
It was.
change for one, so his motion should be for everything.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't know if I was heard, but I did move to approve
Yeah.
the calendar, including meetings in February and August.
So I'll second.
Do we need to do it again?
No, because we would have amended the standing motion, so it kind of reverts back to Richard's motion. So now that's on the floor.
Right.
So I second it.
So just for my notes, who seconded the motion to change the April date?
I think it
I
was
believe
Jason.
I did.
What's that?
I believe I did. Marcia Alzraki.
You did? Okay. All right, two different motions.
Okay. So we had a motion to amend, and now we're back on the original motion to approve the calendar with the amendment.
Correct.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Excellent. We have a board meeting calendar for the next year.
Hey, Kate, before you adjourn this meeting, can I just remind people to mute their mics if they are not speaking?
Absolutely. So if there's no other annual business on the floor, is there a motion to adjourn?
I make the motion to adjourn.
I'll
Irene.
second.
Motion by Noreen, second by Barbara. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion passes. Meeting adjourned. Is everyone ready to call to order the regular business meeting? All right. So call to order the regular business meeting for July 2020 at 6:38 p.m. Is there any public input? Luann?
We need a roll call this meeting?
We can redo a roll call to make sure everyone who was here on the last call is still here. So I have myself, Barbara Frederigo, Barry, Brian Best, Carol Cott, Kathy Barber, Jason Wright, Jenna, Luann, Marcia, Margaret, Noreen, Richard, Tony, and Tim Wild. So Luann, is there public input? You're on mute. Luann, we can't hear you. Still no.
You can probably use the
thumbs up
chat if you
there's-
want. Okay. that
Okay,
works
no
too.
public input. Great. All right, thank you. So the treasurer's report for 2020.
Hi, everybody. So in preparation of the treasurer's report, I reviewed the balance sheet for June 30th and also the income statement for the period ending June 30th and the respective check registers. For my comments, I'll just go down from the income statement and then cross over to the register as needed and then to the balance sheet. So for revenues, you'll notice that there's a mix of positive and negative items, but by and large, the annual revenue fell in line with the budgeted amount, comparing the actual to the budgeted. There's some variances due to interest, which came in a little bit higher due to some CDs maturing during the year. For expenses, because of the COVID and the shutdown, some of the expenses came in under what was budgeted, and those are shown as the negative amounts. And I want to highlight a couple of the positive numbers because they stand out in comparison to the rest of the items. The $8,098, which is for materials and equipment, that is higher due to the RFID tags that were required during the year. And also on page 2, you'll notice some activity for maintenance and cleaning supplies and equipment. Those numbers were over due to cleaning supplies for the result of COVID in preparation for the library opening. Moving over to the balance sheet, you'll notice comparing June to May that there was a decrease in cash and the LPL money markets, and that was in large part due to cash being pulled to pay down operating expenses. There was a net loss for the month of June, so cash was used to cover expenses as a result of the tax levy being acquired in months earlier. You'll also notice on the check register, there is a $5,000 entry for an expense for servers. That shows up not as an expense, but as properly coded per GAAP as a fixed asset, and it's being depreciated. The other big ticket items that you see on the check register are the checks written to the construction company and the architect fees. Those are showing up correctly as was done in prior months as deferred charges for the renovation. So they're there as an asset and will be drawn down as the project gets underway. No major changes to the other components of the balance sheet. The net loss for the month was properly reflected as a decrease to equity, and everything balanced when comparing the 3 documents to each other. Any questions or comments that anybody wants to address or focus on? Tim?
I have a question that I didn't get time to work on extensively over the last couple of days, but in preparing for the meeting on a phone call with Kate, we mentioned the concept that in the 6 years that I've been the director, it has always been the practice of the board to make a motion to transfer the net income into one of the capital reserve accounts for use in future building projects. And I apologize, but I do not have the language that we've used on that motion in the past. I am not an accountant, but I presume we could bring the proper language to the August meeting rather than passing a resolution that wasn't exactly accurate. But you know, there's been a fair amount of turnover on our board, and respectfully, Mr. Aldrich was kind of the architect of that strategy. And it is not my place to presume that the current board wants to continue that practice. I also do not know what else they could do. It's all that I've seen our boards do in the 6 years that I've been president. So apologies if I'm springing that on anyone, but basically at some point, I believe we need to direct that money.
Tim, I think we need to wait until we find out after the audit what that balance is going to be.
Okay.
We still have expenses and some entries that are going to need to be made between now and August when we start working on it.
Okay, good. Well, hopefully we're not untimely in the sense that I dropped any balls. It's just apparently a month early or 2 months early because we usually do it in September, correct? So, okay, good.
Tim, if you don't mind me jumping in, didn't we have an issue with the capital account? And maybe Carol will remember this. I guess I just want to make sure that any issue we have with the capital account gets cleared up before we adopt any sort of resolution. How we constituted the capital account, if you guys recall.
It's the capital reserve account is what you're referring to, and it's, yeah, there was, the way it was created, it did not go to vote in order to be created. So you can have this account and you can put whatever funds you want in that account. It's just, technically it's not a capital reserve account because the public did not vote to establish that capital reserve account. You can call it whatever you want. You can use it for whatever funds. Once the public approves a capital reserve account and the set dollars that are in that, then to spend those dollars, you need to go to the voters or establish that at the beginning as to how you're going to spend those funds. So at this point, we have the capital reserve account. It's not earmarked for anything in particular. So you can spend those funds any way that needs to be, the way they need to be spent. So it's an issue, but it's not really an issue at this point.
Okay.
That makes sense?
If it were really an issue, would it be called out on the audit?
They would have, yes, they would have called us out on that.
Okay.
Any other questions? Is there a motion to approve the treasurer's report for June 2020 and the check register for July 2020?
Make a motion, Barry.
I'll second it.
Second by Jason. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Made the second.
Jason.
Thank you.
All right, so moved. Tim, the director and department head reports for June 2020.
Great, and I will try to do this quickly. I'm not going to repeat very much of what is in the various reports, but a couple things. The first thing is, I apologize, I can't remember who suggested this to me, but someone suggested that we take a moment just to read into our record our profound sorrow at the loss of Fazana Salim Ismail of Guilderland, who was a very, very dedicated human servant. So having said that, let's just pause for half a minute and remember Fazana. Thank you. Among many other things, she was an enthusiastic library user and collaborated on a very successful program here at the library with us. So the general areas where I've been working in the last month are our reopening plan and response to coronavirus. We're doing a little more work on the construction project. It is beginning to heat up. The acquisition of PPE has continued to be a challenge, but we're nearing, we hope, the end of that. And of course, doing the things that I needed to do to help the election take place. When I reviewed the reports from other staff members, I found it interesting that there was a higher social media response to my post on race relations in the community than to our post on the long-awaited curbside pickup. I'm not saying that one is more important than the other, but one did generate more response on social media. Also, I want to commend librarians Ann Wemple-Person and Amy McCarthy for launching a Dial a Story service. It's been up for a couple of weeks now and is being used. It's a lot of fun. I read Casey at the Bat the other day, and that will launch, I believe, next week. And it's designed for anyone who wants to listen to a story, but particularly fills a need. There are adult stories and children's stories, and it fills a need for people who might be lower tech than a lot of the Zoom type programming that's going on now. Also, I put in your packet a 3-page report from Upper Hudson about the use of e-content or digital content. And in pretty much every category, the growth at Guilderland outstripped the growth system-wide. For example, in ebooks, we had a 63% increase in use during the second quarter, and in the Upper Hudson system, a 46% increase. I believe that's due to 2 factors. One is our staff's innovation in acquiring the Hoopla service several months before Upper Hudson decided to do it. We did it in December, and Upper Hudson did it in late March or early April in response to the pandemic. And I think the other factor is that we have an excellent public information officer who promotes those services well. Interesting chart in that 3-page report. It goes back to 2014. And since that time, Guilderland has a 250% increase in users of electronic material on Overdrive. And interestingly, there are 2,438 active users of electronic material, which sometimes some of us in the profession have tended to think in some ways is less important than print material. But I would submit that it's growing in importance. There are 36,000 people living in Guilderland, and 2,400 or so of them use our electronic material. Many more of them probably use paid services for e-content as well, but it is here to stay, I believe, and is growing. We have 689 new Hoopla users since the virus pandemic closure started. I think we successfully presented 9 adult programs and 22 youth programs and events online or virtually. That's a lot of work. And as Maria states in her report, the attendance numbers aren't the same as they would be in person, but the presenters and the people working to present the presenters obviously are working just as hard and actually a little bit harder. So we do think that's a success. I think if you were going to focus on just one of the departmental reports here, you would want to look at Beth Riente's report for the Youth Services Department, which you could take as a microcosm of the whole library's operation. She basically says that it's been an intense period of time learning to do everything differently, but also that it's been gratifying to receive the kindness, patience, and gratitude of most of our patrons. And the special challenge I've referred to before for the people in that department was preparing for story time, both virtually and physically. We turned out to be just virtual. But even though we're virtual, the more things change, the more they stay the same. The most popular event is story time. So though we present things in different ways, the core of our business remains unchanged. So that's my report.
Tim?
Yes.
I have a question. You're in the reports, they talk about, you're on that 2-week on, 2-week off cycle for each half.
Yep.
When after someone has a 2-week staff, do they go into quarantine?
No, but it's not quarantine, but it's designed to be the same length of time as the quarantine period. So, there's a state regulation that by executive order that only half of your workforce can be in the building.
Correct.
So a number of the local libraries are doing it with 3 groups of staff, and they'll do 1 week on and 2 weeks off. And then the second group will come in for 1 week on and 2 weeks off. So the 2 weeks off is intended if somebody, and I shouldn't use the word off because it's working from home, but if somebody were to be exposed to the virus somehow during the 2 weeks that they're on, then that whole team would go home for 2 weeks and the other one would come in for 2 weeks, which is enough time, hopefully, to get the first team to understand whether anyone is still at risk after 2 weeks of working from home.
Okay, but it's not like they're told to go into quarantine.
Oh, no, no, no. Yeah, they lives to lead and groceries to get and so forth. So,
Yeah, good. Thank you.
thank you.
There's
Tim,
no other, if there's no other questions, I'll make a motion to approve Tim's report.
It looks like Noreen has a question.
No, not a question so much as I was gonna comment, I don't know if I did this last time, but the GPL and family Facebook that the librarians have kept up, you know, my hat's off to them because they're constantly putting things on there, you know, for the kids and the families and, you know, I think they're reaching the public through that. So, and you can tell the hard work that they're doing. We don't even know what they're doing behind the scenes, but they make it seem seamless. So I just wanted to say my hat's off to the librarians for pulling that off and making it seem like they've been doing it for years.
Thanks, Noreen. I agree. It's amazing.
And I also wanted to just make a note of one of your summary points that your orders have been backlogged in a warehouse and you got 109 boxes in one day. So we certainly appreciate the mountain of work ahead of the staff as you continue to catch up. And so I can see that that's something that requires a lot of attention and focus. So the fact that you can do that and continue to start serving patrons in a way that's safe is really remarkable. So Barry has a motion on the floor to approve the directors and staff reports. Is there a second?
I'll second. Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy. And all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? So moved. Old business. Tim, was there any old business?
Not that I can recall.
Excellent. Funny how there's no business and that's a short report when your son's got a baseball game. You should play more often.
We need to hear every meeting.
He has a broken wrist, so he has to sit there and watch. But I haven't been to a baseball game since October, so I am looking forward to it if we get there.
Sure. So let's move right into new business, mask required policy. You all should have gotten something in your emails. On that, Tim drafted up a policy and we ran it by Chris Lanchanton, our attorney. And then we amended slightly, but did anyone have any comments on the mask required policy?
Just, I mean, what kind of enforcement are we, how are we going to enforce it and what are we going to enforce?
Yep.
If we have, obviously with staff, we can enforce it, but if a patron comes in and says, I'm not wearing a mask, you know, I mean, you know, you see that in a lot of business. Just today at the post office, the guy walked in and just, they told him to wear it. He absolutely refused.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so, I mean, how are you planning on handling something like that?
Sure. So that's evolving. So I'll take a step back behind that and say that Upper Hudson and NYLA are recommending that every library adopt a masks required policy. But, and as many of you probably know, there was a lengthy article about the enforcement in retail settings in today's Times Union. So we don't know yet exactly how we are going to enforce it, but I've been discussing it with both department heads and in a meeting yesterday with CSEA units 1 and 2. And the most likely scenario for enforcing it would be to rotate staff members at the front door. It's really not, there's no necessity to enforce it until such point in time as we begin allowing some patrons into the building, because staff voluntarily complies with this, as do our vendors. So right now, there's not a problem. Once we start allowing some patrons into the building, first of all, you know, while you're entirely right, Barry, that some people do refuse this sort of thing, it is, I saw a poll today on television that 74% of the country says that they're voluntarily complying. So we're just basically planning to control access to the building once we start allowing access into the building. And like all of the things we're redesigning now, the initial idea to post a rotating staff member up there is, you know, subject to change as to whether it works or not. I do see that the administration bears significant responsibility for that. So as with any other security breach in the library, there are panic buttons that can be pushed that direct you straight to the police. There was an incident in a library in West Virginia a day or two ago where the person took off their mask and began coughing on staff members' computers and collections in sort of a crazy act. So we will enforce it within reason, I think would be one way to put it. We're not going to put any of our... We're not gonna put, no
that's
one
what I
will,
was just about to say. I don't want to put any staff members in
Right.
danger.
correct, yeah, yep. So,
And they're not, you know, they're not police, they're not rent-a-cops. So,
Yep.
you know, I'd hate to have any of our staff members put in danger, injured or anything, attacked because of trying to enforce this.
it's a little bit like if there's a robbery at your cash register, we train everybody to give them the cash because it's much less important than the health and safety of the staff members. So if there's a problem, administrators will be called. And if the person continues to create a problem, we can try calling the police, but it does say in the newspaper that the police feel that it's difficult to enforce this kind of thing across the board in society as well.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I think that's good.
Okay.
Tim, could there be some penalty in the long term? It's Rich. With revoking library card or something for if we have the name of the person? Is there anything that we could do short of physically escorting the person out to put some teeth in this?
That's a good question, Rich, and I don't happen to know the answer. I do know that based on some previous patron interactions that had more to do with theft of materials than with.
You guys basically saying like, you know, like if someone doesn't wear a mask, like you're gonna escort them out and all this other shit.
Jason, you're not on mute, man.
Oh.
So,
You know what? I apologize. But with that being said, yeah, I wasn't on mute. But with that being said, are we really going to, with everything going on in the world right now, in which like people are having issues with, let's just say, enforcement, is this something that we really want to push? And also with the library, I feel like you know, we're gonna have like a lot of children. You may have someone that may have a medical condition. I just don't know. Is this really somewhere that we need to put like a lot of energy? Like it's. I feel like by now most people have gotten into the habit of wearing a mask, but to like be so heavy-handed as to escorting people out of the library, I don't agree with that.
This is Margaret. I'd like to speak to that. There are two separate issues there. And one is that every library is required to generate an awareness for those who have ADA requirements that are impacting their ability. For example, if you have asthma and you can't wear a mask, if you have a chemical sensitivity to the cleaning solutions that we're using, we have an addendum prepared to add to our safety plan to address those issues. So for example, if someone comes to the library, they have asthma, they can't wear a mask, we have something we can hand to them so that we can say, we'll be happy to retrieve the materials for you, we'll help you get what you need, the librarians will work with you and find reasonable accommodations for that. That type of issue is separate and distinct from what Tim is raising about a specific mask policy for someone who refuses without a medical reason.
Another way of saying that is there is a clause for children under 2, and there is a medical exemption clause. Both of the language on both of those was provided by the governor's office. So I think one of my answers to you, Jason, would be we're not going to go out of our way to create incidents, but we are going to politely ask people to follow state law and our policy. And if they refuse to,
I think that's for the best. I think that I strongly recommend that.
Okay. And back to Rich's question, Rich, when we've had some thievery security incidents in the past, we've been advised by our counsel that we do have the ability to ban patrons or suspend patrons for a period of time. In my 6 years at the library, I believe we've only used it once. So I think that might, I don't know, but my gut might be at this very moment that the problem is not likely to come up, and that might be sort of a nuclear option that we don't need to really worry
I'm
about.
not recommending it after a first offense or anything like that.
Right.
Given that some people do seem to want to make a point of it, having a regulation without any way to make people aware of your disapproval of is kind of pointless in my mind. So I think I'm very comfortable with going with the flow on this and seeing how it goes. I think, Tim, as you and I talked about, the fact that we're not refusing service to people, anyone can claim they have a medical exemption, and it's not your place to figure out whether it's valid or not. But all that means is they get service at the curb.
Right.
So we're not denying service to anyone, and it makes it, I think, a lot easier to enforce when, you know, what book do you want, and we'll bring it out to you.
Sure.
Tim, I guess while we're on the subject, I just wanted to weigh in and, certainly do whatever, you and your administration feels is best. But I guess, I just want to weigh in. And my thought is anyone who doesn't wear a mask just shouldn't get service. And, and I'm not even opposed to the nuclear option of not, of revoking their privileges. But, I leave that to you. But I guess that's my point of view, that you would certainly have support from me with kind of the heavy-handed approach. And I honestly think you will see it. I mean, anytime I go to a store, like there's always one or two people that just don't do it. And I think you're going to see it. So, but that's my viewpoint. So do whatever you think is best, but you have my support. I just wanted to
Thank you.
Tim, it's Marsha Aldraki.
Mm-hmm.
Do we plan when we or open the library, whenever that is, to put a sign up that says masks required on these premises? You will not be admitted without one.
Yes.
Okay. Do we have any experience, or does anyone on the call have any experience as to what happens when someone ignores that? For instance, in one of the big box stores, do the police escort someone out without a mask? What teeth do we have to back that up if somebody comes in without a mask, even though there's a sign up? Do we know?
Based on the article in the Times Union, retailers are having to go it alone. There are too many incidents of it that law enforcement can't respond to them all. So
okay, because we have an obligation to protect the staff at the library as well as other patrons in the library who do abide by the rules to wear a mask. And short of having an altercation between someone without a mask and any staff member, because I wouldn't put anyone in jeopardy, I don't think we can discount the fact that people who are not wearing masks and come into contact with other folks in the library are putting staff and patrons at risk. And so, what I'd like to do is obviously back you up. I understand the police's reticence to get involved in this.
Could I just say something? Because the supervisor, the police respond to everything.
Oh, good.
Does that mean that they would escort a person without a mask out of the building?
Well, if there was an incident, I mean, if somebody wouldn't put their mask on, I mean, that is state law.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to wear a mask. I mean, it's not like it's just the library. I mean, you have to wear a mask in
Supermarkets
indoor
and
public places. I mean, or if you can't socially distant, you have to wear a mask.
I police are responding, and if someone wants to come into the library when it opens and not abide by the rules that are going to be posted, I think we should call the police and have them escorted out.
Definitely. And our record of our relationship with the Guilderland Police Department is excellent. And they've always told us, when in doubt, call.
Thank you. Thank you, Kathy, for that. I wasn't sure. I didn't know exactly what was happening with respect to law enforcement. And thank you for clarifying that.
Sure.
The article in the TU didn't have any reference to Guilderland, but it did talk about retailers having problems getting enforcement in the area.
Okay, thanks.
All right, is there any more discussion on the mask required policy? Seeing none, is there a motion to adopt the mask required policy?
I'd like to make that. Ruben?
Second.
Motion by Richard, is there a second? Second by Marcia. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No opposition, so moved. That brings us to our 2021 holiday and closings calendar. So I believe that is in your packet. Toward the end, after the circulation comparison, at least that's where it shows up digitally in mine. So there is an item on the calendar for discussion. It's the standard holiday calendar and closings that we've typically used in the past with the addition of Juneteenth. So is there discussion on the 2021 holiday and closings calendar?
I have a couple of things to say, if it's okay.
Please do, Barbara.
Okay. As I brought up in the last meeting when this was first mentioned, the contracts that we've just negotiated include certain holidays. And in talking with Chris Lanchanton, I think you all received a letter from Tim after he spoke with her that she does not recommend adding June 19th to the calendar at this point in time for a number of reasons. There are contractual things that would have to be dealt with, number one. But secondarily, does this start a slippery slope? Do we now put in an extra day for the Japanese people who were, put in internment camps, for the Jewish people, a Holocaust Day, because even though Americans knew that they were being slaughtered by the millions, nothing was ever done. Because of the COVID tragedy, we've learned that Native Americans on reservations in 2020, many of whom still don't have water or electricity. I think it needs further clarification. And at this point in time, I would not recommend, as our lawyer does not recommend, putting it in the official calendar for next year.
And I have to agree with Barbara
State holiday.
for an additional reason is that, as we had discussed last month, the state is taking this up. Obviously, their priority right now is the pandemic, but usually or lately when the state, adds a holiday, they take away a holiday or make it a floating holiday. And as we had discussed last month, it was, okay, not that we're against this, but there's no rush at this point. We can always add this, but let's wait and see what the state is doing. If the state makes it an official state holiday, then, yes, I don't know if we automatically do it or we, rubber stamp it for the library too, but
I'm under the impression that they did make it a holiday, beginning in 2021.
What they did is they made it a holiday for 2020, but they specified it as this year only until they took it up to make it, to look into making it a permanent holiday. Because, if they make it a permanent holiday, and I think they will and they should, but then, they're most likely going to make another holiday a floating holiday or just not a holiday at all. And we're talking about almost a year, 11 months from now. I think we can adopt the calendar without it and then address this as we get closer to it. I'm not saying a month or two before, but I mean, I think, some point this year, it still gives us enough time.
Yeah, hot dog. Thank you.
Barry, I know that you feel that we will have enough time. I just want to remind people that when the governor made this a holiday for state employees this year, he did it with 2 days. So the reality is it may be announced with not very much time, and we know that it is a priority for him to do so. So I just want to put those reminders out there.
This is Marcia Elizraki. Would the board entertain a resolution that Juneteenth as a holiday for our calendar when the state so recognizes it? So we are on record as approving the holiday of Juneteenth pending recognition by the state as it being an official holiday, so that we're in a position as a board to speak to what's happening in our society with respect to race relations and go on record as being on the side of recognizing Juneteenth as something we should all think about and create educational issues around it and understanding. And I think it would be a big step for the board. I recognize I'm new to the board, but I feel very strongly about this. And we would not be adopting it as a holiday, but we would say we would once the state does and makes it an official holiday. I recognize that it's subject to contract negotiations and possibly an addendum to the contract with CSEA, but I don't think the violative of any policy of our own, since we recognize state holidays, if we go on record as saying we will recognize it as a board when it's made a state holiday. So I just open that up for discussion.
Thank you, Marcia. Does anybody want to weigh in?
I would agree with Marcia. I don't think we can unilaterally declare holidays that aren't, I don't think we should be the first one out on holidays yet. I think Marcia's suggestion is good because it does recognize our spirit in recognizing the holiday, but not doing anything official about it at this point. I just don't know if a contingency resolution like that is a valid resolution, but I would certainly support it.
Anyone else?
Caitlin, I would just add, if nobody else wants to add in, we already have Martin Luther King Day. What do we do with all these other disenfranchised groups that I mentioned? Do they have to do, protests, riots, and all these kinds of things to get attention? I just see this as a slippery slope. You just keep throwing in holidays. As Barry pointed out, in most instances when you do that, you trade it for another one. I just don't understand why we're rushing to judgment here. It's certainly as an important day. It's certainly, I learned a lot of history, regarding it. But again, we already have a holiday in response to, Martin Luther King Day. And as I said, are these other groups not going to come before the state or ourselves and say, well, we want a holiday too? I'm just troubled by that.
We have to
Can
follow
I just want to add what I added last time.
Um,
Juneteenth is not a
Jason-
new holiday. This is not a new cultural thing. And the communities that have always acknowledged Juneteenth or African cultural festivities during that time period, this isn't anything new. This is something that's been going on for a very long time. This is just new to everyone else. So I understand, like, the contractual reasons why, they may not be able to do that or acknowledge it. But I would like to at least do what we did this year, because I feel like this is the first time ever anyone's really acknowledged it or even talked about it. And if we're not going to do this, if we're gonna, because it's gonna be a holiday. The state is going to make it a holiday. If we're not gonna say we're gonna, do it as a board, I would really like to at least have us make this a big deal during that time period so that, people are educated about Juneteenth.
I like that idea a lot.
I don't have any problem with making it a holiday since it's going to be a state holiday anyway. I mean, it's already a state, I mean, it was a holiday for state workers, like somebody said, on 2 days' notice. So
But
I
that
would,
was a
I would vote
one-time
in
deal.
favor of making it a holiday for the library.
The state this year did it as a one-time deal till they look at it. And again, there's no rush. And again, Barbara pointed out there's legal issues with the contracts. And I still say, like we agreed to last month, we should wait to see what the state is doing. We can always add it, but if we put it in now,
Yeah.
you're not going to be able to get rid of it if for some reason we want to.
But I think,
Now,
I think Marcia's idea covers that.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in and say that Marcia's idea covers it allows us to say we're not saying it's a holiday, but if the state does it, then we will also recognize it. And that gives us some flexibility in the ability to do that, because what may end up happening if we don't do that is that we'll retroactively have to give people a floating holiday or pay them for an extra day.
I agree. That's a great
So-
compromise.
So
So
Yeah,
I think,
sorry, go ahead.
no, Brian, you go ahead.
So just from a procedural standpoint,
I can't hear.
assuming, so from a procedural standpoint, the state makes it a holiday. What happens next? They automatically get it as a holiday? I mean, assuming, say we don't even do the resolution. If the state makes it a holiday, do they get do our employees automatically get it? Is it still have to be negotiated? I guess this would be more of a Tim Margaret question.
I think it's more of a Chris Lanchanton question. And as I understand it, there is no obligation that any library celebrate any holiday with a paid day off. It's I'm putting together in my own words what she told me, but I believe that it's a board decision what holidays are agreed to contractually with employees. Barbara, does that make sense with what she told you?
Exactly. And as you know, I don't know if the new board members, we have 7 paid holidays where the library is closed. We have 3 additional holidays where the library is open, and those become floating holidays for those people that work on those particular days. One of the suggestions that I shared with Tim, in June, we always have, for the past maybe 3 or 4 years, an employee training day. And so you could have that day on June 19th. Everybody would still get paid. The library would be closed because we do that when the staff is being trained for their yearly training or staff development day. And you could combine those 2 dates. If you notice, I think it's June 13th and June 19th that they're proposals on the calendar. So, you could do that as well if we chose to go with Margaret's idea, but you have to differentiate paid holidays when the library is open, paid holidays when the library is closed. So again, it's just not an easy issue that you just can throw it out there and say, oh, we're gonna name this holiday and you're gonna get a day off. Is it gonna be, the library's gonna be closed? Is the library gonna be open? There are all kinds of issues that really should be discussed, and, we shouldn't rush to judgment. I just have full confidence that in the long run, if we wait, we're gonna make the right choice. But to just simply jump into something into the heat of the moment, so to speak, to me, just really isn't as responsible as we could be.
I guess my question to you is in terms of social policy, should we be a leader or a follower? I mean, what do you think, the library should, what's our role? Should we, I mean, it sounds like you're just willing just to follow along and just say, that whatever anybody else does, and then we'll just kind of do that. I mean, are we going to lead in this?
Matt, I don't think it's a matter of leading or not leading.
I think it is.
We have a fiduciary responsibility. We have a contract. The taxpayers are depending upon us as a board to manage our finances and their taxes. And if we decide to do something, then, as I said, we should deliberate and do it with the contract negotiations or with a memorandum of understanding, between the unions and ourselves. I'm just arguing process here. The intent is very well intended, as I said, but our lawyer is telling us to hold off, wait and see what happens. It's not a matter of leadership or not. It's a matter of following standard practices for something like this.
Barbara,
So our lawyer said what?
Our lawyer highly recommends that we don't put it in the calendar for next year. I think Tim sent you a letter regarding that later in the day today.
Barbara, can I ask you a hypothetical?
Sure.
If the state adopts this as an official holiday, would you then make a point that we don't adopt it as a library holiday?
No, not necessarily.
So then what's the harm in this contingency idea that Marcia put forward, that we adopt it as a holiday if the state makes it a holiday?
What if the state gives it as a holiday, or makes it a holiday, but they take away one of the current holidays, let's say President's Day?
I just wanted to hear Barbara's answer to the question.
But I'm asking a question of you based on your question. Because if we adopt it, say, if the state adopts it, we're going to adopt it. And the state adopts it, but they take away a holiday, say President's Day. Now, we're still going to be giving President's Day because it's in the calendar that we're adopting.
We didn't say that we would. This resolution, it's not even a motion yet, but this idea only makes it a holiday. It doesn't say what we're going to do about any of the other ones.
But that's the point. If the state takes away a holiday when they give one, our hands will be tied and we can't do the same thing then.
Why?
That's why you have.
Because it's in the calendar that we're going to approve tonight, President's Day. And if the state takes away President's Day, for example, based on what you're saying, we're forced to keep it.
See, in contract negotiations, you set the parameters. Okay, if we decide we're going to make it a holiday on our own, following Kathy saying, well, do we want to be leaders or followers? We have to make a determination. Is it going to be a holiday where the library is closed, a holiday where the library is open? Would it then become a floating holiday? There are all these minutiae that have to be dealt with, within the confines of why you have contracts.
Yeah, but I think, I'm sorry to jump in, but I think her motion doesn't, address any of those problems, and we can address it down the road. That's why I like the motion. Yes, there's a lot of little details that we would have to address later, but we don't have to go into every single one right now because we don't know the answers with President's Day and stuff. But the motion, it doesn't address it, and we can address it down the road whenever the state does what the state does. That's my feeling.
But I'm a little bit troubled by Barry's point that we may wind up with an extra holiday in 2021. Because if the state approves Juneteenth, presumably the existing holiday calendar can't be changed.
Yeah, can I jump in here? I need to jump in. So we're all concerned. The number of holidays total that we give our employees is 10. Tim, do you want to just jump in with the research you did on similar libraries in the Upper Hudson system and how many holidays they give their staff?
Sure. When we were working on the admin contract negotiation, the personnel committee asked me to do a review of fringe benefits at holidays and other non-salary remuneration that we give employees compared to other libraries in the Upper Hudson region. And Upper Hudson does an annual survey of that, but to be completely honest, but many libraries don't participate. So of the 29 libraries, you're usually able to look at like 16 for 1 year and 18 for the next year and so forth. Looking at that data, I found that paid holidays, the way they have them grouped there, the amount, to refer back to Barbara's comment, was 10 for the Guilderland Public Library, because they basically say that the holidays when we're open and the holidays when we're closed are paid holidays either way. It's just that some people observe them on different days. So several other libraries had 10, several had 12, one had 14, one had 15, and one had 17. So, you know, it's hard for me to look at that data any other way than to say that of the libraries that reported, we were at the low end of the spectrum.
This is Marcia Alazraki.
There are 10 paid federal holidays, so we're right in line with the federal government. I don't know what the state would be. That's what's great about this, is that you can look up stuff while the meeting's going on.
Marcia Alazraki, you know, my hello.
We can hear you.
Yep. We just can't see you yet. We just see your ceiling. Hey, Phil.
Situation, you know, and this has nothing to do with politics. I think it just has to do with recognizing, you know, and making an effort as a library board. And I think someone earlier said, do we want to be followers or do we want to be leaders? Speaking for myself and hopefully for the board, Juneteenth is an extremely important concept. And as Jason said, the African American community has recognized this for many years. What the board would be doing is stepping in line with that community and recognizing what it means and the effect that it's had in our community. There are many of us who weren't aware of Juneteenth, but I think most of us now are. So the first part of my resolution would be to so recognize Juneteenth as a holiday. The second part of the resolution, and we can, you know, I know we have outside counsel who can draft a resolution that I think would probably meet with everyone's approval, assuming that you agree with the first part of my comment. The second part would be that we would recognize this holiday if the state did and when the state did. And if there are contract negotiations and floating holidays, I could be wrong, but I'm assuming we've dealt with floating holiday issues and how many paid holidays and non-paid holidays are permitted under contract. I would put that in the bucket of process. And I'm not minimizing the process, but it's not doable to craft a resolution that picks up all of the concerns that have been raised about contract negotiations and floating holidays and paid or unpaid holidays, because we do have contracts and they have to be honored. So if it requires an addendum by memo of understanding, you know, and the lawyers do that, and I don't think that's unsurmountable. But to me, the important piece is that the board as a body recognize Juneteenth as a holiday, and I'm pretty sure the state's going to do that as well. So it makes a statement for us, which I think would put us in a very light with the community. I may be wrong. I like to think I'm not, at least on point one. On point two, the lawyers can get together and put together the resolution that will take all of the process contingencies into consideration.
Okay.
Okay. So
Cut one.
I just want to remind people that what we're looking at right now is the holiday and closing calendar for the library. So this is a list of when the library will be closed. So, you know, this is not necessarily, it's only if we say the library is closed on Juneteenth that we will have to continue the conversation about union contracts and negotiations on the holiday. So,
Well, I think
it's a matter
Marcia
of-
made a motion, so, I mean, I would second her motion.
I didn't hear a motion.
Marcia has a motion on the floor that Juneteenth is recognized as a holiday. Is that right, Marcia?
I thought it was contingent on the state recognizing.
Right.
Marcia, can you just repeat your motion, please?
What I would, and it's approved, and when state recognizes, it becomes state act, it becomes self-realizing.
Huh? I couldn't hear the motion.
So, Marcia, I think we're having some trouble hearing you, but from what I understand, the motion is to adopt the 2021 holiday and closing calendar with the holiday of Juneteenth pending per it becoming a state holiday. Is that correct? Okay, so that is Marcia's motion. Is there a second?
I'll second. Kathy.
All in favor?
Oh, can you read it? Can you read the motion back? I'm sorry, I was not paying close enough attention. I apologize.
Okay. Kathy, will you read the motion back?
Okay, it's a resolution to recognize the holiday when the state does.
What holiday? A
Juneteenth.
motion, the motion has to include that.
Okay, sorry. I guess I put holiday because we've been discussing Juneteenth. Okay, the motion is a resolution to recognize the holiday of Juneteenth when the state so recognizes it.
If and when.
And it would be self-actualizing.
So the motion does not address the holiday and closing calendar per se. It just addresses that one day, and then we have to do a different motion about the calendar, the rest of the calendar, correct?
No, not really, because that's part of the calendar.
But the motion doesn't talk about the calendar.
I think it's two separate motions.
Okay,
Let's
so
make it
we have a
two
motion
separate
and a
motions.
second.
Let's address Marcia's motion on the floor to recognize Juneteenth as a holiday pending the state making it a holiday. So there was a second on that, I believe. Kathy, you second?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Barbara is opposed.
And again, not
All right.
because of the concept, but because of the contractual things that would have to be worked out, and it should be worked out ahead of time.
Correct.
Can I just say something?
Yes, please.
I think for this, I'm going to abstain just because this is so much for me and I've been through the contracts but I'm also in support of the holiday, that I personally feel like I need more time to think about this. My feeling on it, it's my feeling that if they make this a state holiday, I am behind it. But knowing what now goes through contracts, I'm pausing, I guess I can say. I'm sorry to be so in the middle of this, but I feel like something that has this much weight to it, I guess, I don't want to just go in and say something without really, really thinking about it.
And I'm going to abstain for the exact same reason Noreen just gave.
Okay,
And
so
I am as well. I didn't hear a consensus on the voice vote. I'm not sure how we work procedurally, but I would like to ask for something other than a yay or nay vote.
absolutely, we can go to a roll call.
I'd appreciate
So
that.
I'm just going to go in the order that you guys appear on my screen. Barbara Fraderigo,
I'll follow the lead of abstaining just for the reasons that I shared with you, that it's too fast, too quick. We need to do the contract and work that. Abstain.
sure. Barry,
Abstain for the reasons that Noreen gave.
okay. Brian Best,
Yes, aye.
Kathy Barber,
Yes.
Jason Wright,
Aye.
Noreen Riva,
Abstain.
Richard Rubin,
Also abstain.
Marcia,
I'm sorry, my, what,
Marcia, we're asking, we're doing a roll call vote for your motion. Just confirm you are in favor. Marcia,
Sean, are you able to unmute her mic?
Yes, I can try.
We can hear you now, Marcia.
yes, Marcia, are you in favor of your own motion?
can you hear?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
I heard her say yes.
Okay, and so that leaves me, and I am in favor.
How many in favors do we have?
Kathy, can you give the totals, please?
Let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in favor. Barbara, Barry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I guess abstaining, or I'm not really sure what that means, but so I guess 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait, 1. 4 people are abstaining, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people are in favor.
So it passes. Abstentions,
Passes, yes.
abstentions don't count.
Okay.
But you need to have a majority, and we do. You need to have at least 5 people voting for it.
Yes,
And
we have.
do.
We have 5. It was.
Yep.
Kathy, Brian, Jason, Marcia,
Yeah.
and Caitlin.
No, there
We're
is
all
5,
in
but
favor.
Correct. 5 people.
if there had been a 5th abstention, it wouldn't have passed.
Well, it has passed. So,
I'd like to make a
I have,
motion.
I have abstaining Barbara, Noreen, Barry, and Richard.
Yeah.
Correct.
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the rest of the holiday and closings calendar other than the Juneteenth.
There's a motion by Barry. Is there a second?
I'd like to second that.
Second by Jason. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. All right, next, is there a motion, with the minutes from the regular board meeting from June? Were there any discussion on those minutes?
One comment. In between A and B, the board did do the Pledge of Allegiance, and it should be reflected in the minutes.
So is there a motion to adopt those minutes with that amendment?
So moved. Barbara.
Motion by Barbara, is there a second?
I'll second Kathy.
Sorry.
Second by Kathy, all in favor?
Aye.
Wait, hold on. This is Jenna. Just the new board members have to abstain.
Thank you, Jenna.
You're welcome.
So-
Jenna.
Abstentions by Richard and Marcia. Was there anyone else who was opposed? No opposition, so moved. Luann, is there any public input? Luann, you are on mute.
Give us the down signal.
Okay, so I will take that as there being no public input. I believe there's business for executive session. I want to recognize one of our patrons, Eileen, for being honest about last meeting and making sure that we do this correctly. So I will make a motion to enter executive session to discuss collective negotiations pursuant to Article 14 of the Civil Service Law and the employment history of particular persons.
I second that beautifully worded resolution.
Much better than the last president did last month.
Well, all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing no abstentions, we will enter executive session, and I believe
Caitlin,
that Carol.
You need to indicate who can, as part of the motion, you need to indicate what non-board members are allowed to stay in.
Yeah, I was just about to say Carol and Margaret will both be joining us in executive session.
And Tim.
As well as me, yeah.
As well as him.
Just give me a minute before you actually start your session to stop the Facebook Live and get out of the meeting myself. Hang on a minute.
Thank you, Sean, as always.